On the 17th of July last year, 2022, I made a video with the help of some music detailing my travel from ground zero across America until I arrived back in New Zealand. The video took me quite a while to record, and for some reason I didn't upload it. Must have got distracted. Anyway, I've re-recorded it, added some salient points and some facts and figures, and so come with me from ground zero to New Zealand. Now, do me a little favour, don't skip through the intro, made a little adjustment. Let me know in the comments what you think. So some of you may recall that ground zero was approximately 73 kilometres or 45 miles away from San Francisco. Now, in order to head back to New Zealand, I stopped a bloke on the street and I said, how do I get to San Francisco? And he said, if you're going to San Francisco, you need to go to the BART station, jump on the yellow BART and head west. So I did, and that took 1 hour 14 minutes, and that got me into central San Francisco. Unfortunately, due to budget restrictions, I ended up at two of possibly the worst hotels or motels in San Francisco. But that doesn't matter. It gave me a chance to stretch my legs and go and have a look around the city. And I was there for 9 days. And eventually I left San Francisco at 8 a.m. on the 25th of December 2021 and headed down south to Los Angeles. That journey on the Greyhound bus with stops took 9 hours 11 minutes, covered 687 kilometres or 427 miles. As the bus pulled into the transport centre, I could see the lights of Los Angeles. I jumped on the connecting bus and headed off to San Bernardino, which was 96 kilometres or 60 miles away and took 1 hour 10 minutes. On leaving San Bernardino, we headed off to Las Vegas, and that was a journey of 3 hours 26 minutes, covering 350 kilometres or 217 miles. And I arrived in Las Vegas at 12:27 a.m. on the 26th of December. Now, we were told that the bus needed to be taken away to be cleaned inside and out, refueled, and it would be back with us in approximately about an hour or so. But there was a little cock up, and in fact we did not get back on the bus until 7:30 that morning. So it meant I actually had 7 hours in Las Vegas, and I could have gone to the Strip, but we didn't know about the bus situation, so I didn't want to risk it. So we all jumped back on the bus and left to head to Bullhead City. This was a 1 hour 42 minute journey covering 160 kilometres or 100 miles. From Bullhead City we headed to the picturesque ski resort of Flagstaff. This was a 3 hour 24 minute journey covering 294 kilometres or 180 miles. At this point it was time to head east from Flagstaff, and it was at this point I realised, oh, I was only 24 hours from Tulsa. As we travelled east and pulled into the next stop, I could see the lights of Albuquerque. This one was a long journey of 6 hours 22 minutes, covering 518 kilometres or 322 miles. Leaving Albuquerque, I got back on the Greyhound and I asked the driver, is this the way to Amarillo? He said, yes, of course it is, your fool, sit down. This one was another long journey of 4 hours 11 minutes, covering 465 kilometres or 289 miles. The next journey east was 4 hours 10 minutes, and that covered 418 kilometres or 260 miles. And this journey went from Amarillo to Oklahoma, where the wind comes sweeping down the plain. So we left Oklahoma and headed to Tulsa, and that was a short journey of 1 hour 50 minutes, covering 170 kilometres or 106 miles. On leaving Tulsa, Moving further east, we reached the home of... Yes, we got to Springfield, Missouri. That took 3 hours and 5 minutes and covered 291 kilometers or 181 miles. It was time to leave Springfield and head once again east. And I said to the bus driver, "Show me the way to St. Louis, show me the way." So he pointed me in the right direction of the right coach and we headed off. And this journey took 3 hours, 55 minutes and covered 365 kilometers or 226 miles. And at one point I had a Eureka moment as we passed through the town of Eureka. Now, while I was in St. Louis, I've been travelling for over 2 days and I was getting a bit down, a little bit depressed. I think I'd got a case of I got the St. Louis blues, blue as I can be. Still, on the 27th of December, the next leg of the journey was from St. Louis to Indianapolis. Now this leg took 4 hours 28 minutes, covered 389 kilometers or 242 miles. And on this journey I passed through Pocahontas. No, not that Pocahontas, and also St. Elmo. I arrived in the early hours of the 28th of December and it was time to head from Indianapolis to Chicago, Chicago. With a small stopover in Lafayette, this journey took 4 hours 8 minutes and it covered 294 kilometers or 183 miles. I'd booked a motel at the Red Roof Inn in Downers Grove, but it was way out of the city. So I had to jump on a train, which was 53 kilometers or 33 miles, and that took me to Naperville. I then caught a bus from Naperville, heading back east a little bit, but it dropped me off at the wrong stop. So I had to walk the rest of the way, dragging my 2 suitcases. Not a problem, but it started snowing, and every 2 meters I had to stop and kick the snow off the suitcases. I eventually got to a little shopping mall where I asked to use somebody's Wi-Fi, and I booked an Uber, and the Uber took about 20 minutes and got me to the Red Roof Inn, where I lay down and just relaxed. So after 3 days and 7 hours of travelling and stopping and eating, I eventually had the longest shower I've ever had. My total travel time on the Greyhound was 57 hours and 12 minutes and I covered 7,354 kilometers or 4,570 miles. From Chicago I caught the train back to St. Louis, had a look around there for a couple of days, spent New Year's Eve there, and then I think it was the next day I spoke to the Reaper and he insisted that I come and stay with him for a wee while. I ended up staying with him for just over 3 months, and it's at this point I really want to say thank you to the Reaper for his generosity, putting up with me and just being a great sport. Thank you very much. From there I left in the early April and once again headed east. Destination New York, New York. So I left Iowa on the 9th of April, headed east, once again went back through Indianapolis, through Columbus, through Pittsburgh, and at one point I found myself in the streets of Philadelphia. Then we carried on into New York and arrived there in the afternoon of the 10th. Had yet again a very nice shower at the Airbnb, and on the 11th I took myself from Queens on the subway into New York and spent the whole day in New York looking around at the sights. Now, as you all know, I was born in Birmingham in England, and whilst I was in New York it crossed my mind that I'm an Englishman in New York. Then the following day on the 12th I made my way to JFK Airport, jumped on a plane, ironically flew back to San Francisco, then on to Fiji, and then the final leg back home to New Zealand. The last leg of that journey from Iowa to New York was 1,643 kilometers or 1,021 miles. This gave me a total traveling distance from ground zero to New York of 8,997 kilometers or 5,591 miles. Well, that'll do it. I hope you enjoyed coming with me on that little journey from ground zero all the way to New York, all the way back to San Francisco again, and then on to New Zealand. And here I am. So, like I said, I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please clicking that thumbs up would be greatly appreciated. If you did like the content, please consider subscribing to the channel. You can do that by clicking this button here. And don't forget to ring the bell for notification of videos coming out in the future. Once again, thank you very much for joining me. Good day.